We got this from the New York Post. Heritage Foundation in revolt over Tucker Carlson defense after controversial Nick Fuentes interview. Footsie with literal Nazis. Apparently, I think they're like reassigning one of these guys. They say internal chats reviewed by the Post show high-ranking members of the Heritage Foundation told each other privately how embarrassed and disgusted they were by Kevin Roberts' ridiculous decision to come to Carlson's defense over the sit-down with Fuentes, who has expressed anti-Semitic views and denied the Holocaust happened. I'm disgusted by this and don't understand how this premeditated and orchestrated response could come out of one of the biggest think tanks in the world, one wrote. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I think, I was talking to some older guys, I'll put it this way. And this old boomer guy, I asked him if you ever heard of the phrase Zoomerwaffen.
No, I haven't heard of that one yet.
Phil,
I said it the other night.
Do you want to explain Zoomerwaffen?
Zoomerwaffen is the young people that are very close to what you would consider fascist. They believe that there should be a strong government. They're right-wingers. A lot of them believe that they want to see only white Europeans allowed to migrate into the U.S. They want to deport people that are basically not what they would consider real Americans.
They're basically the growing faction of
Groypers.
Yeah, Groypers, white nationalists or otherwise. Mm-hmm. And it's a large faction of the young male Gen Z population and some female. And I think that's the direction it's going. Because a lot of the younger guys I meet are Fuentes fans. A lot of the younger guys. I'm not suggesting that he's the most popular or most prominent or anything like that. But when I meet younger political guys, they like Nick Fuentes, and they're wrong about a lot of things. But the reason why is we've been lied to. We know we've been lied to. And no one is offering up a rebuttal without trying to lie more. So what happens is Nick Fuentes goes on Tucker Carlson's show, and they start screaming all of these things to try and get him banned. He pops up on Spotify. They ban him. They ban him from YouTube. Young people are sick and tired of being lied to. And if no one's offering up a real argument against Nick Fuentes, then young people are going to assume he must be correct because no one else will tell them the truth. I'm not saying Nick is telling them the truth. I'm saying if Nick says X and instead of arguing that the media says ban him for saying it, they go, wow, it must be true.
Yeah, they call it Holocaust denial. It used to be called Holocaust revisionism because people were like, well, let's look at the data and see if they were wrong about any of the numbers. And I heard this interesting concept that the Allies, when they were finishing World War II and they were doing bombing runs in Germany, blowing up roads, blowing up train stations, they didn't know there were camps yet. They blew up the transport, and the Germans couldn't get food into the camps anymore. And so for weeks, these people started starving, and then the Allies rolled in. And that aspect of it is very touchy from the Allies.
It's not.
It's just normal war shit.
No. Hold on.
Fog of war.
That subject is not touchy. It's a literal fact of war. We know about the bombing of Dresden. And the issue is, why were those people in camps, Ian?
Well, yeah, that's
why were they in the camps in the first place?
You can talk about the German, the
argument about like what. So, I'm not here to talk about World War II. My point is, young people are looking at this. We were just talking a moment ago about tariffs and aluminum in Canada. So, young people are going, why can't I get a job? And what do they see? Well, we shut down our processing plants for steel, and now we're importing from China for slave labor. And they're going, so I could have worked in a steel mill like my grandpa did, but instead they shut it down and now they're importing from China, which is more expensive to do, but they don't got to pay Chinese labor. That's why I can't have a job? Yes. What about aluminum refining? We get it from Canada. Where's the aluminum come from? Guinea, Brazil. And they go, why don't we do it here? Nah. We're going to outsource it anyway. So these young people get pissed off and they say, I can't have a family. I can't buy a house. I can't get a job. We've outsourced all these jobs. Then Trump comes and says, I'm going to put tariffs on these countries so that this forces American industry to start rebuilding in America. And these young guys go, thank you, Donald Trump, for finally sticking up for me.
So is what the downside is that corporations will be like, I can't handle the tariffs here anymore. I'm out. I'm going to.
It's not going to happen. A market is a market. So people try to come up with all these stupid arguments. If you sell a product in China, you adhere to Chinese rules. Google, for instance, was trying to create a search engine, and they said censor a bunch of stuff.
Dragon something, I think.
Yeah, well, they ultimately, I think, did roll out their censored search. Movie industry says we want to put movies in China. You got to censor certain things, and they do. If Donald Trump says we're going to have tariffs on imports, then what happens? Honda will build a factory in the United States and employ Americans to work on these cars to avoid paying the tariffs. Then American young people get those jobs, and we can start to rebuild our community, our culture, and our industry. Instead, you've got people arguing in favor of continued extraction of the American economy and culture. One of the examples I'll give with Nick Fuentes is one I've given before, where he's got a viral clip with probably tens of millions of views, where he says he doesn't want to live near black people. And he says it's not because he has a problem with individual black people. He's actually, and this is funny, a lot of people know this, he said, what did he say? Racism is low IQ or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. And he said the issue is those communities, the crime rates. Everybody knows they don't want to live next to black people, and they're lying. Now, here's the thing. All these young white guys will look at the crime rates. They'll look at their own neighborhoods, and they'll be like, yep, tends to be a lot of young black men committing a lot of the crime. You bring it up on social media, you get banned. You advocate for it, and every liberal and every Democrat's going to give you a justification and a lie and an excuse, even though these same liberals sell their property when black families move in. So what do? They say, wow, Nick's the only one telling the truth. He must be right about everything else as well.
Nick, I think he's falling short on that argument, if that's an actual argument he made. I think it's poverty that drives crime, and that these people are descendant
Poverty
of
doesn't
slave.
drive crime. Crime drives poverty.
And the response Nick has for you is explain Appalachia.
Yeah.
The poorest place in the country and a lower than average crime. Nice try, Ian.
Well, they're all on opiates. What do you want?
Oh, because they're too drugged up to
And they
commit
live
crime?
super far away from each other.
No.
Actually, Ian, opiate usage is way higher in the Chicago black communities than in Appalachia.
There's
Try
low
again.
crime in Appalachia because they live up the hill. No one wants to walk up there to
No,
do
we're
a crime.
talking about the cities.
What?
We're talking about cities of 30,000, 40,000 people. Crime is low.
Those are very small cities. If you're talking about Detroit or like, it's these people are
Then how come in Chicago in the wider areas there's lower crime?
Because
the problem,
because of the last 150
problem,
years,
Ian,
people will answer
you
your
are
question.
doing exactly
No.
what I'm saying.
No, in this iteration of slavery in history, it was the black people from Africa got enslaved by the white people. 1,000 years ago was the 2,000 years, the Carthaginians enslaved by the Romans. They had white-skinned slaves that time. This time, it was those people. Their descendants, 100 years later, don't have the nutrition because they were slave descendants.
My exact point. My exact point was that
It's not their skin color that's doing it. I'm saying it's...
and I would agree. But skin color does create the first impression. Racism does exist. And the bigger issue, I argue, is culture and community, which is why Hyde Park is safe and luxurious and black. And the LeClaire Courts is black, but also impoverished, dangerous, and gang-infested. The point is, your equivocation and your desperate attempt to try and downplay the obvious reality of young black men committed disproportionate amount of the crime results in these 20-year-old white dudes being like, Ian's lying.
Well, if...
And then they're going to go watch Nick Fuentes.
If 150 years ago, a bunch of white people were enslaved and brought over here by a big black, very wealthy black oligarchy, you better believe right now it would be a bunch of dumb white people committing crime.
You're not arguing.
Because they're descendants of
You are
slaves
not
without the nutrition and
explaining
education.
to young people why in a city like Chicago, the white areas have low crime and the black areas have high crime.
I'm telling you, because of the descendants of the slaves, which happen to be mostly black, their kids didn't have education, they didn't have money, they didn't have nutrition, so they didn't have the brain matter to do creative, get out of the crime worlds. And so they're stuck, not everybody, but a lot of people from that culture are residually stuck due to the slavery.
I think that's racist and wrong.
I think it's
issue is
racist to
there are
claim it's their
cultures.
skin color and culture that's causing crime.
It's not racist to mention that culture is a reason for why there's crime.
And it's not their skin color that's causing it.
No. You could argue that certain cultures are more likely to commit crimes in other cultures. Like if you took me, who's a free speech advocate, and sent me to Saudi Arabia, you better believe I'd talk shit about the king, and that's a crime over there. I'd be a criminal. But like, what the fuck? That's my culture.
But regardless of the debate, this is my point. You have said nothing.
I said the reason that these
No.
people are committing crimes
Don't
is because
just
of their
keep saying the
systemic...
same thing over and over again. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
To a young person who grows up in these suburbs and sees white liberals being racist and then publicly lying about why they actually don't want to live in these neighborhoods, these people are going to go follow Nick Fuentes.
They're going to what? No, go listen to Nick. Well, there are hypocrites for sure. There's people that...
You go into the suburbs of Chicago, you go into the white neighborhoods, and everyone will say under their breath bad things about the black areas, while publicly acting like the poor black communities are oppressed and it's not their fault they're committing crimes. Nick will then, in the suburbs of Chicago, say the exact opposite and say, it's because they commit crimes and they're criminals. And the young people go, everybody says it, but no one says it publicly except Nick. And then when Nick comes out and praises Hitler, they say he must be telling the truth because you won't have a real conversation about what's going on in Chicago. That's my problem with all the people attacking Tucker Carlson. All of these people, it's laughable because it's one issue that they're obsessed with, Israel. But of course, Nick also has his issues with Israel. But the pro-Israel people are attacking Tucker and Nick and Candace specifically over Israel while ignoring their other positions on other issues and why young people want to follow them. So maybe, and I was talking with Gavin McInnes, who I said, he's a Zionist, he's pro-Israel. And he was like, he said he loves Nick. He's like, talks to him all the time. And I said, right, Gavin, you're not the person I'm talking about. He's like, maybe I'm one of these pro-Israel people. I was like, no. The fact that you're willing to have your argument and express why you support Israel and why you're pro-Israel with someone like Nick is actually how we alleviate the pressure. The problem is young people are getting screwed over, and there's too many institutional politicians lying to them for political power, and they're sick of being lied to. The problem then is Nick is wrong about quite a bit, but he's saying loud what a lot of people are unwilling to say, and so it's convincing them that he must be right about everything else.
Yeah, he's got a genuine, even if he's wrong, sometimes he'll say, I mean, I've seen him, sometimes he'll smile when he talks, and I can tell he's pulling one over on people, but he is genuine often. And whether he's right or wrong, people are drawn to genuine beliefs because at least you can challenge it and they're not going to lie to you about it.
Well, when someone says they like Hitler, you're probably going to be like, he's probably telling me what he actually thinks, because who would ever admit to
And
that?
he's giving me like 1/50th of the statement there. Like, what do you mean? I want to know, what do you mean when you say something like that? What do you like about him? That he was able to rally 100 million people? Like,
I
that was
think,
cool, I guess. I'm not saying he's a good guy.
I think that what we're going to see is young people moving to the further. I don't know if far right makes sense. Far right is a term created by leftists to smear people of various disparate ideologies. A governmental a command economy with racial identitarianism is not far right, because depending on the race, they'll call it left or right. Like ADL calls black identitarianism left wing. I'm like, what is left wing about that? It's not progressive. It's regressive. And what is their economic or cultural standpoint? It's just identitarianism. Well, race identitarianism is regressive. So I wouldn't call it far right. Woke right is a stupid made up garbage term by same thing, leftists and liberals trying to smear people on the right. But I think you're going to find I guess I would describe it as white identitarianism. Yeah. Among young people, because they're sick of being attacked for being white, and they're sick of being lied to by an establishment as to the cause of these of crime in this country. Additionally, one thing that's really going viral right now are these DOJ documents that show Black and Latino people listed as white people in the crime stats. This is what these manipulations and lies should not happen, and it's going to drive people to someone like Nick. And Hitler was not a good dude, nor was he cool in any way. He was a genocidal maniac. But they lie about so much, they're making it easy for someone like Nick to build a following.
That's a big problem. Yeah. If acknowledging the crime stats and say there's a disproportionate amount of crime coming out of the Black communities is different than saying because they're Black, they're causing crime. That is not the same thing.
And Nick
you
didn't
need to
say
be able
that.
to.
He said it's not to blame individual Black people. However, the issue is liberals won't admit it. But look at the property values in their cities, and the property values drop, the less white an area becomes. And these are liberals in cities that vote Democrat. Everybody knows they're lying about what they actually think. That's the issue. And now you can talk about all of the reasons why there's crime or whatever your argument might be, but people are sick of being lied to.
I like talking about race realism. I don't know if that's the right term. People are like, oh, you said the words. But like, I love talking about the differences in genetics, because then you can actually have normal conversations, not freak people out and make them run towards the
You're
next.
Not allowed to point
extremist.
out that Black people are predisposed to sickle cell anemia.
Like I don't know if all the time they're taller. How many people in the NBA are Black versus white? 85%, 90%. I don't know what the taller, larger bodies, more muscular genetically, maybe because they had to hunt by foot longer 10,000 years ago. I don't know, but it's interesting.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.